Saturday night thunder is open.
They have big hearts and a whole lot of horsepower, brave souls, and the will to win. They are the local heroes, and they live for Saturday night. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. I don't think you could ask for a nicer place to go racing. The Pacific Coast, the USAC, SCP Western States Midgets ready to go at the Ventura Fairgrounds in Ventura. The beach is emptying and the folks are moving on over here to the racetrack for a perfect evening of racing. 62 degrees and calm Southern California weather. They said it never rains out here. That's been a problem lately. In fact, an occasional sprinkle during the course of the day, but that's all moved out of the area now, and we're just about ready to get at it. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Despade, and let me tell you one thing about tonight's show. We're going to go at a abridged version. Will be 90 minutes tonight instead of 2 hours. The plan was to pick up the racing live with the fourth heat race. Well, we're looking out for you. I'm looking out for you. We recorded those first 3 heats, and I think we're going to be able to show you once again every lap of the action here tonight. Last week was round 2, and these guys lived up to the challenge, which was to keep all the action and excitement of opening night, but get rid of the crashes that stretched that thing into a 2-hour and 45-minute marathon. They did it magnificently, and for the second week in a row, a relative newcomer came out on top. The emergence of the kids has been the big story out here in Ventura. The opening weekend, the winner was Keith Roush. He's only 21 years old. Dennis Hart came back last week, not a kid at age 30, but only 2 years since he was Rookie of the Year in this series. So we've had 2 comparative unknowns. Now, I said that we pretty well eliminated the crashes last week. We didn't entirely eliminate the crashes. Check the kid on the outside. That is Roush, your opening night winner, trying to pass them all on the outside, hooks the top of the cushion, gets her upside down. Larry Rice defines that as a Tommy tip-over. Earlier tonight, this is Roush in trouble again. He rammed the back of Terry Farrar, broke the front axle, and ended practice up on the hook. The late update is that his car has been repaired, and we expect him to race and try to move up from a 5th place ranking in our TV point series. Dennis Hart, last week's winner, is our most consistent driver thus far. Robbie Flock is a 2-time series champion. Kofer and Olson round out the top 5. We'll give you a look at the second 5, and we'll be talking more about Sleepy Tripp as the evening goes on. And so we come here for round 3 on this picture-perfect night with the 3-time USAC champion Larry Rice, the man who calls the play-by-play, Gary Lee. A reaction to what we've seen the first 2 nights. Gary, let's talk first about racetrack conditions.
In 2 nights, we have seen 2 distinctly different racetracks. 2 weeks ago, it was very moist, very tacky, and realistically, the drivers had trouble dialing in the chassis. But last week, keep in mind, a time change, an additional 60 minutes of sunshine, dried out the track, gave us 2 grooves, and looking at the track tonight, once again, we should have a good racetrack with 2 grooves to compete on. Now, keep in mind, a threat of rain has been a problem all weekend. North of us, California's had some rain. As a result, a CRA feature sprint car race was postponed. But that's to our advantage because, Larry Rice, we have some CRA veterans with us tonight.
And they're great race car drivers. Brad Knopfsinger will be in the number 40 car that Kara Hendrick has been running. He ran from 16th to 2nd in this car a few weeks ago, so we expect him to do very well. Leland McSpadden is the other guy, and he is Mr. Excitement. Dave, you're going to love him, believe me.
I can't wait to see that, and that brings us full circle because a couple of veterans are back now to challenge these kids who have been doing so well. And, of course, the whole issue is that of age. Everybody's been talking about it in sports this week with the battle of the ages. We sent Larry Rice off this morning to the concession stand where he hooked up with a couple of the veterans in this Western States Series.
I'm standing here with a couple of guys who are members of the Over 40 gang, and we had a little inspiration last night from George Foreman. What'd you think of that performance?
Well, I thought it was great. The inspiration, the fact that he never sat down between rounds, but I figured the reason he did that is because he just never got back up again.
Well, I think he was great. He showed that you just keep plugging along, and that's exactly what we do on a racetrack. Us old guys just keep plugging along and plugging along. I follow Wally, and Wally follows someone else, and it just shows you just stay there, and you're bound to win one of these days.
You notice that Hank has 2 head straps because of his age. That's the reason.
Well, the one thing he proved to me was that if you eat cheeseburgers, it should make you last all night. So we have something for you guys here. A couple of cheeseburgers. Eat hearty.
I want to know which of you three is ready to get in the ring with Foreman?
Well, for $12.5 million, I'll get in there, and the first time he swings, I'm heading for the floor.
And you bring your own cheeseburgers, right? We're going to be back with all of the action here at Ventura. And the fourth heat is just about to fire up and roll. In fact, they're out there warming them up right now. We'll be coming right back with the action.
54 car, Brad Knopsinger outside number 40 in the second row. Leland McSpadden in from CRA alongside Stevie Reeves. In the third row, on the inside, car 91, Jordan Hermansader with our in-car camera, and Keith Roush outside in 37, the car just repaired in time for this race. Number 1, defending Western States champion Sleepy Tripp, outside a two-time champion Robbie Block. In the fifth row, 00, Pete Davis, and outside number 35, Gordy Edwards. This, Larry Rice, may be the best heat race we have had all season.
I tell you what, this is action-packed. I cannot believe this is how many good guys there are in this race.
Well, Jerry Kozma, with an autographed Volkswagen engine, one of the few that we've seen in competition out here, brings it down for the start.
McSpadden came right in there, right off the bat. We're right to the bottom, and look at him banging around already. This guy's running great.
Stevie Reeves on the inside grabs the lead. Kozma rides in second. That blue number 47 is the Gary Bondio car that Leland McSpadden, the deputy. Oh, he bicycles.
Oh, my gosh.
And there is Brad Knopsinger. Brad Knopsinger in the Dave Calderwood number 40. You mentioned earlier you saw him run to second place about 3 weeks ago after starting 16th. He was here tonight because that CRA event at Santa Maria was rained out.
Ironically enough, the two guys that came in here from Santa Maria are the two guys that were involved in that accident. McSpadden went in there, the car was way too tight. It caught hold, it jumped up in the air, jumped up and down like a pogo stick a couple of times, and right over in front of Brad. He had no place to go. Bang. Here we see it again. See, right there, it's hooked up too tight. It starts bouncing up and down. He turns to the right to save himself, but right into Brad's way. He couldn't miss him. He had nothing to do at that point and just kind of tipped on over. It wasn't a real hard flip. I doubt if he's going to be put out for the night. Here we see it again. Look at that. When he turned right, Brad had the race car set. When you've got that race car set and you're on the throttle, it's awful hard to get slowed enough to make a right-hand turn. He just couldn't do it in time.
Amplify on something, if you will. You're saying the car is too tight. For the layman, what's that mean?
Well, that means that the race car, the back end of it is hooked up so tight that when he went in there, made that turn, the right rear caught a hold, and when he makes that, gets a hold, that right rear gets a hold, it catches the racetrack. When it did, instead of getting up on two wheels, it just kind of jumped straight up in the air. In a pogo stick, it just jumped straight up and down. He turned to the right, and when he did, it saved himself, but he got into trouble with the number 45.
The thing I like working with you, Rice, is that you come on the top of the show, you tell us, okay, the two guys to watch here are the two CRA guys who come in here to race for tonight only, and keep an eye on McSpadden because he makes things happen. And look what happens. Do you set this up with these guys ahead of time?
I've watched McSpadden run for 20 years, and he's never been unexciting in any race I've ever seen him in.
Well, we saw the flat left front on the number 40 car, so that car obviously out of action for the heat race, but we could expect to see Brad Knopsinger back for the semi. That will make for an interesting last chance event.
Yes, it will. It's a tough break for him. He had a very good shot at running well in this race, but that's the breaks, you know. On a little racetrack like this, there's a lot of times there's nothing you can do. Breaks happen, things happen in front of you, you just can't miss them.
Young Stevie Reeves, only 23 years of age, flies in every weekend from Indianapolis, and he is leading right now in the red 67. But there is the Tempe Tornado, Leland McSpadden. And look at that restart. And I believe that was a legal restart because Stevie did not pick up the throttle in the designated area back there. And that red, white, blue number 32 of Robbie Block took advantage of it. He's up to second.
Yeah, the rules out here are a little different than they are back home. I don't know whether they call that legal or not, but it certainly looked like Robbie.
Well, apparently not, because the yellow's back out. We have two cones on the backstretch. It is between those two cones that the leader is to pick up the throttle. If the leader does not pick up the throttle, time he gets to the second cone, the green flag comes out anyway. But obviously that was an illegal restart. Let's take a look again.
Well, see, he's anticipating that they're already that cone up there. Robbie Block anticipated when Stevie would get to that cone. Stevie doesn't understand the rules quite, I don't think. He didn't know he had to pick up the throttle to that second cone. He waited till he was clear into the third corner, and it was a little mix-up in the understanding, but I think that Block may not have been completely wrong, but if Stevie doesn't want to get his doors blowed off, he better be ready the next time.
Well, all right, we'll say jump the restart, and he drops back to 5th position now for another attempt to restart this 4th heat race. But once again, we will show you highlights of the other 3 heat races. You will miss nothing in the way of action from Ventura Raceway this evening. McSpadden in second position. There is Keith Roush in the car that was damaged earlier. They rebuilt the front end, put a new axle in it. Now we have a good restart.
Second, third are going to be very exciting to watch in this race. Keep your eye on McSpadden. He's going to make things happen.
And all of a sudden, we have a new fourth place, and that is Robbie Flock, and fifth is now Sleepy Tripp. As we take a good look, a close-up of Roush, and there's the battle for the fourth and final transfer spot.
Tripp is using that patented in-high, out-low method that we talked about so many times, and he made it sick. Here he's going to do it again, right down the backstretch. Trading spots every time through the corner.
Well, that's a Cosworth-powered LTC chassis where you've got the Vogler Jennings engine powering that number 32 of Robbie Flock. Between those two, you have seven Western States championships.
Yeah, those guys really know what they're doing. They know how to run this racetrack. Sleepy's having a little trouble. He's at a disadvantage being that far back. It's going to take him a while to catch up. But he knows how to run this racetrack, and it won't take him long. He needs a yellow right now,
But
though.
that's the battle for the fourth and final transfer spot. We transfer the first four finishers out of each heat race, and then if you don't finish the top four of your fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth, you have to go to the semi.
Meanwhile, Stevie Reeves in Sleepy's old car looks like he's on a rail. He's running that cushion right around the top and going fast.
Jordan Hermansader, as we take a look at the CarQuest cage cam, and that's not the kind of picture we want of Jordan. He has stopped outside turn 2.
Well, Flash Jordan Hermansader, a self-proclaimed nickname there, has done a great job here in the last couple of weeks. I don't know what happened now, but he has had a few problems.
Incidentally, he was telling me he has a new sponsor, Aviation West, out of the Seattle area. Jack McKaylick, and Jack cannot be here to watch him race, so he said, I'll be home watching you on television. And what's the problem we have right there?
That looks like the fuel tank, the oil tank has come loose on the side of the race car. I couldn't tell whether that was the oil tank. I think it was. It's come loose. It was dragging the ground.
Such color, a puke tank.
A puke
That's
tank.
what they call them.
Yeah, well, whatever. That's what I call them. But anyway, that thing, it's come loose. That's why he got the black flag. They were black flagging him, trying to get him off the racetrack. They obviously saw it. When he felt it rubbing down there on the tire or whatever, he just pulled up and stopped. He didn't want to take the chance of having that thing tear off there and throwing oil and blowing the motor and all sorts of bad things.
This is an 8-lap heat race as we take a look once again at Hermansader. 5 laps have now been completed as he is off the track and headed back for the pit area. The top 4 transfers, Sleepy Tripp is in that 4th transfer position. 5th is Robbie Flock. Your leader is Stevie Reeves. He talked earlier, liked the way this car was hooked up, said he thought he had an excellent chance here this weekend. He's not had the best of luck the past 2 outings.
That's right. Here we see Sleepy and Robbie Flock had a chance to catch up. This ought to be very interesting. These guys have banged on each other a lot of times out here on the West Coast. Oh, Robbie Flock got in there. That race car again was too tight. He couldn't keep the back end out. Made a right-hand turn. McSpadden, all of a sudden, after that yellow, he's running much better. Stevie Reeves has walked out to a big lead. All of a sudden, seems like McSpadden has figured out what's going on and how to run. 1 lap to go. We'll see.
White flag is out. Now there, once again, is the Gary Bondio Blue 47. That is the car that Leland McSpadden won the Chili Bowl in. So he has found success with this car, but tonight he'll have to settle for second in this heat as Stevie Reeves takes the victory.
Sleepy Tripp came all the way to 3rd. Keith Roush finished 4th. It's an excellent heat race. You have to remember that Leland McSpadden only had about 5 hot laps in that race car. It was set up for Andy Bondio. He's been running the car here. He had that car the way he liked it. I'm sure that Leland McSpadden is going to go in there and set that thing up more to his liking, and when it's set up a little bit more to his liking, it's going to be an exciting feature for this man.
Well, of course, as we said earlier, Leland had every intention of driving a sprint car this evening, came in late, and he'll reset that chassis, as you indicated, as Stevie Reeves takes the victory. McSpadden 2nd, Sleepy Tripp was 3rd, and Keith Roush was in 4th position. But once again, Keith really had to try out that race car because they had to rebuild the front end. And there's a pass on the inside by Robbie.
You know, these guys race each other every week and every week. Robbie underneath, Sleepy on the outside. They can't.
We have just concluded heat race number 1 here at the Ventura Raceway. Stevie Reeves takes the victory. McSpadden was 2nd. Tripp was 3rd, and Keith Roush was 4th. Actually, that was heat race number 4. That was the first that you will see this evening. You see that live, but we will have highlights from the other 3 heat races.
And we might point out that those results mark a first for our TV series here, because that's the first time Sleepy Tripp has been beaten in a heat race out here. He was 2 for 2 coming in. Crowd here likes Sleep. He's won a lot of races on this racetrack and is still going for the all-time record, we should mention. If he can win a feature out here this year on this TV series, or more accurately, the next feature he wins will break Rich Vogler's record for all-time midget victories. How about that crowd? We're going to get into those heat race highlights now. As Gary mentioned, you've just seen the 4th heat live. These folks have already enjoyed the first 3, and we're going to go to heat race number 1. Gary?
Rick Taylor gets a good jump off the inside, and that's a yellow number 76.
Chris Malone came right up behind him, banged him a couple times. When he did, he lost the momentum and let Billy Garcia up underneath him for second spot.
Billy Garcia rides in second position. Chris Malone, the guy we call Critter, rides back there in third. Once again, the first Ford transfer. Once again, we're seeing 2 grooves develop early on this evening.
Well, I think that's going to be the case. This racetrack is prepared very, very well. It's very wet right now. It's almost as fast on the bottom as it is the top. And so guys can run just about any place they want and get an equal bite. So it's pretty tough to pick a groove. But look at Giorgito, right underneath these guys. He picked the bottom, and he's going to run down there and make them pass him on the top.
George in that white 04 car was the Rookie of the Year last year in the Western States Midgets. He's a graduate of the TQ competition, and he moves up to third position, sets his sights on that dark number 7 of Chris Malone. There's a good tight shot of George.
Like I said, he picked the bottom. He's going to run the bottom. He's going to find that spot down there and run fast. He's moved up now to see if he can pass Chris on the top side. He doesn't like it very well up there, though. You're going to see him move right back down to the bottom. You can tell just the way that race car went through the corner. It was a little too tight on the bottom or on the top. He's going to go back to the bottom.
A driver can actually determine, Larry, if he wants to run the bottom or the top and set the race car up before the race. How difficult is it then to change once the race begins?
Well, you can't change the car once you're in there. You've made your choice. You set the race car up how you thought you wanted to run, so you've got to run it according to the way you set it up. If you set it up really tight, if that back end's really sticking, a lot of times you can't run that cushion because when you do, it catches a hold and does those flip-flops like we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Rick Taylor continues to lead. This was actually the first heat race conducted a bit earlier this evening. Billy Garcia rides in second position as the first Ford transfer onto our 30-lap main event.
This Taylor guy has done a great job. He's just got the checker there. He won by a good margin. He's done a good job this whole series and hasn't gotten the credit that maybe he deserves because he's run like that several times out here.
All right, here's the way they finished. Rick Taylor comes out on top. Chris Malone, Critter, coming home second. Ito, the Strawberry Farmer, is third. Andy Pierce won a heat race out here last week. The Oklahoma kid comes home 4th in this one as we wrap up heat race number 1. We're going to take you right on into heat race number 2. We're going to show you every lap of the racing action here tonight. Pick it up, guys.
Jet Davidson in that black and white helmet, the yellow and black checkerboard car, lost the lead off the start.
Tommy White got a very good start. It's very hard to get a lead off the outside, but Tommy did it. He ran a couple of very good laps here. For 2 good corners, but he looked like he's a little bit tight again, just like we talked about some of these other guys. Jimmy Sills is a guy to watch here. He's run these cars. He likes that cushion. He likes the top.
Sills in that white number 9 car. That is that Beast Journey that's normally driven by Stan Fox. In fact, Stan Fox is here this evening watching. Stan is committed to an Indianapolis car ride, so he can't run these cars until after the Indy 500.
He said, Jimmy, you're not doing a good enough job. I'm going to give you a kick in the pants. And looky right there, what had happened?
He goes around the high side, and there's Hank Butcher.
Hank Butcher's hanging in there good. Jimmy Sills did a fantastic job down there in 3 and 4. He likes the spot up there a little bit right in the middle of the racetrack, a little bit high, but boy, is he hooked up in that corner. Not quite so good up in 1 and 2. He's not doing as well down there. He doesn't seem to be getting the drive off the corner, but down in 3 and 4, he's really fast.
Uh-oh, problem right here. Wally Pankratz in the yellow 34, and that is Jet Davidson. Jet said he saw an old antique midget painted up like that. He liked it. He said, I had a yellow car, so I just slapped some black paint on it.
Well, you can't miss it, that's for sure. You can't miss that race car on a racetrack. There's nothing else that I've ever seen that looks like that anyway. Okay, here we see what happened. Okay, Jet Davidson gets in there. He's loose. He's just the opposite of what the other guys are. The back end just comes around. Wally's just caught there. Wally's been in the wrong place at the right time every time we've been here this year, and that's exactly what happened to him. He banged him wheel to wheel, but he couldn't keep the motor running. They're both sitting in the infield.
Start of lap 5, and once again, Jimmy Sills leads the way. And Sills, perhaps 2 weeks ago, had the fastest car driver combination here, ran into some bad luck. This could be his evening as we take a look at Kevin Olson in that red 77, a 2-time USAC Midget champion.
Yes, and the other Kevin is Kevin Doty in the orange number 7 right in front of him. Both guys trying very hard. That's the transfer spot, so it's very important. Kevin knows he can't follow him, so he's going to have to try the high route if he wants to get around him. So far, he doesn't seem to be making much progress up there.
Frank Pedregon in the number 80 car. He has switched cars this week. We'll talk perhaps a little more about that later on because he has a new engine coming in a couple of weeks. As we continue to watch that battle for the fourth and final transfer spot, there was the white flag. 1 lap to go. Kevin Doty continues to run at number 4. Number 5 is Kevin Olson, and here comes the checkered flag for Jimmy Sills.
Jimmy Sills was just hooked up fantastic in that race. Kevin Doty comes home fourth. Pedregon did a great job running third in that car. He's never driven that car before that I know of, and he did a very, very good job in that race car.
Hi, Jimmy Sills, who described this place as a pretty racy little joint, races to an easy win in the second heat race over Hank Butcher, the veteran. Pedregon third. Kevin Doty held off Kevin Olson for that fourth final transfer spot, and that relegates Olson to the semifinal. And that brings us to heat race number 3. Once again, I believe we're going to have time to show you pretty much the whole thing. You're not going to miss a lap tonight, even though we are going to shorten the show by 30. Gary?
Ron Hazelton, a red, white, blue number 11, brings him down for the start. There is Larry Derwin in the blue number 9, riding in second position. Once again, heat race number 3 to determine those that transfer on to the main event.
Okay, it was a very clean start, a good start. Everybody ran just about into the number 1 the way they started. But watch Dan Ford in that number 10 car. This guy's the only guy up around the top, and he looks like he's plenty quick up there.
Well, Dan Ford is your 1990 USAC National Midget Rookie of the Year. And right now he's up to third position, but he's experimenting. He is trying the high side right now, trying to learn this racetrack. The track obviously has changed from hot laps to what it is right now for this heat race.
That's right, high, low. Another car, that number 11 car of Hamilton's was too tight. Like we said, the right rear catches it, throws the front end out. When it happens, and that happens, you've got to turn to the right, try to get it gathered up and back down to racetrack. That's the only thing you can do. When I say too tight, the thing I mean is the low air pressure. You've got a lot of weight in the race car, and the race car just does not want to turn. It wants to go towards the fence. When that happens, you've got to just go with it and try to get the brake back up. Ford is doing a great job, Gary. Look at that man.
He is an emerging racing star, and he's also showing a lot of experience, a lot of patience right here. He's very mature. He had a chance a couple times to get in trouble. There's a good youngster. That is Paige Jones in car 21. This is the last time we see Paige because next week his brother PJ will be in this car.
But say, both those guys are pretty young guys, and they're both doing a great job. Here, Dan Ford, in high, out low. We talked about that thing. He's fighting the steering wheel, but he gets the job done. In high, now then he's going to follow the cushion. Once he gets out front, that cushion's where he wants to be. But look at Paige Jones. He's gone from back in fifth spot up to second, and he's going for it right now. Look at that man.
And Paige may have him. He does so. Paige takes second place, and he will finish behind Dan Ford. And there's a look at Hazelton taking a shortcut. They won't allow that. He's going to the infield.
Well, I tell you what, if I was in that infield, I'd be heading for cover the way he was running through there throwing that dust. But Paige Jones, we called it, I hate to say a man. He's almost a boy still.
All right, Dan Ford comes off a winner. The young guy doing good with Paige Jones, just a teenager. Derwin and Yeller round out the top 4. We're going to keep rocking and rolling here because we want to get back live with the semifinal, which is up and coming. We want to take a quick whirl around the rest of the racing world. We're back east. The crowd is ready for the semifinal, and so are we right after this timeout.
Back live at Ventura County Fairgrounds, Ventura, California. We are ready now for the semi, the last chance event, and look at this front row. Interesting. The first and second place finishers from a week ago in the feature, there in the semi. Dennis Hart inside in 15, Robbie Block outside in 32. In the second row, we see John Cofer in 66, Kevin Olson in 70-17. In the third row, Ricky Gray in 44, Wally Pankratz in 34. The fourth row, on the inside, Billy Garcia in 19, Tommy White, a former champion out here outside in 27. At the fifth row, Ron Hazelton in 11, Tony Everhart in 16. In row 6, 00, Pete Davis, outside Dave Culp in 32. In the seventh row, Gary Howard in number 6, John Kaiser in number 24. At the eighth row, on the inside, Gordy Edwards in 35, Bob Davison in the blue number 5. We should have the starts this time by. Remember, we only have 10 laps in this semi, and we only transfer the first 4. Oh, look at the bump on the start.
Watch out here. We're going to have Cofer still trying to gather it up back there. He got in big trouble. Oh, my gosh. Guys up and over each other. That whole thing started clear back there coming off the first corner for the green flag. Two guys got together. Cofer got down on the inside, swinging back and forth, and tried to get back out in line, and there's just not enough room to get 3 or 4 cars in that first corner altogether. They got the banging into each other, running over each other. And, okay, this is Bob Davis. This is Ron Hazelton and Gary Howard.
Well, look once again as they come off the corner for the start.
The first two guys, Flock and Hart, ran into each other. Everybody tried to miss him. Cofer tried to miss him. Somebody tagged him in the back end, and he's doing tank slappers. The back end's going back and forth. Everybody's trying to come up here and get into one. He comes out back on the racetrack from the infield, and when he does, Davison's there, but everybody in front of him's already in trouble. I couldn't even tell that at first. Man, oh man, when you get that many guys trying to get in that first corner, it's tough. Okay, we see, Hazelton hit the car in front of him. He hit Tommy White, got sideways, and then Gary Howard comes in their bicycles. Davison, this 00 car bicycles. Bob Davison in the number 5 car has no place to go. Everybody just came in kind of stacked up on top of each other, and now then they're going to have to start all over.
A complete restart, and apparently the 5 car of Davison is locked in the gear. Now he's underway now. We're going to have a glossary of racing terms in a textbook of some kind of Larry's terms. We're coming back. Stay with us. Ready for a complete side-by-side restart, with the exception of those drivers involved in that altercation down in turn 1. They have gone to the back of the pack, but up in front, the guys that finished first and second in the feature last week. Inside, Dennis Hart in 15, outside, Robbie Flock in 32. They could get the green, well, not this time by. But I tell you what, as we looked at that situation develop, I think it was Robbie Flock being the intimidator, squeezing down on the inside.
Very difficult to lead from the outside position in this racetrack since it's so small. He was trying to squeeze Hart down, and when he did, they got together and they both lost control a little bit. We'll see if he tries it again.
Well, maybe a cleaner start this time, yes. And Hart gets a good jump. Flock stays to the outside. Let's see if he can use that outside groove. Trouble in turn 1 again. A mess of them. There's the number 77, and that is Olson. There is the white 27, Tommy White. There is the number 44 of Gray.
Yeah, Bob Davidson's in that. Tommy White's in that. Everhart's in that. There's several guys all tangled up. We didn't see exactly what happened. It looked like a very good start. The first two guys got a good start. Dennis Hart beat him into the first corner. Maybe we've got it on replay here. Okay, I think we do have it on replay, Gary. Okay, Kevin Olson sneaks down on the inside. Oh, Dennis Hart got all sideways. Kevin Olson had no place to go, and from there it's bang, bang, bang. Everybody's trying to miss the roller coaster back there.
Hart got sideways. Kevin Olson tapped him and straightened Hart out. He continued on, but that triggered the altercation.
That's a very tough break for Kevin Olson. Hart just was so far sideways, Kevin hit him with the right front when he did it, made his back end go on around. The other guys just came in to run into him.
Well, and there's a look at the crew. That's how light a midget is, about 900 pounds. They were locked up. The crew just picks him up and drops him down. As we take a look at Ricky Green, he was also involved down there. Well, we had smooth sailing through 4 heat races. Now everything is happening to us in the semi. We'll come back and try once again to get through 10 laps.
Here, and the semifinal seems to be plagued with problems, gentlemen. I would put a theory to the two of you. We saw the heat races tonight, clean and green. For the first time in 3 weeks here, the semis have been a disaster, and I would speculate that it's because this is these guys' last chance.
Exactly right, Dave. I don't think there's any question about it. The guys know that in that first race, if they're in the first 4 spots, they take it a little bit easy. They don't take the chances. They know they've got the feature made. They get in this thing, they don't have a second chance. They got to go for it and give it everything they've got. And some of them just been unlucky. Bob Davison, he was involved in both of those crashes. So in this, the rules out here, when you're involved in 2 incidents and are stopped, you have to go out of the race. So he's out and never got through the first corner.
Are you saying, Larry, it's easier to exercise patience if you're starting up front?
I'm saying it's easier to do everything when you start up front. Let me tell you.
Well, once again, Ricky Gray apparently is going to call it quit as he unbuckles and he climbs out of the car, so he'll watch this semi or last chance race from the infield. Kevin Olson also will be a spectator for this one. We'll come back, and once again, we still have the semi and the feature to go from Ventura, California.
Saturday night thunder. Saturday night.
And Saturday Night Thunder is back live at Ventura with a question for Larry Rice. The guys up front have it easier, perhaps, but it looks to me like the guys up front are causing all the problems here in this one. Yes or no?
Well, the 2 guys in that front row are trying very, very hard. You can see on both starts, they were both very intense, trying very, very hard to beat each other into that first corner. That caused the problem off of 4 in the first restart. It caused the problem going into 1 in the second restart. Nobody's fault. They're just excited. Those guys want to win this race.
A single file restart as we begin 10 laps of semi-competition. The first 4 finishers will transfer to our 30-lap main event. No bumping into turn number 1, and that is Robbie Block on the inside. The red, white, blue is 32. He chases down Dennis Hart, who's out in front. Once again, these two finished first and second last week here in Ventura in the 30-lap main event.
It's almost an instant replay, Gary. The same exact thing. Block inside of Hart, leaning on him real hard, trying to make him make mistakes. Dennis Hart's not giving in. He's going to run his race and make Robbie Block come up there and take that race away from him.
A pair of yellow cars running 3rd and 4th. Gopher in the yellow 66 and the 34 car of Wally Pancratz now in 4th position as we continue to look at the front of the pack. And there's that gap between 1st and 2nd. We can once again see the two distinctly different patterns. We've got the inside where it's dark, or light, I should say, it's slick, and the cushion where it's light on the high side.
I think the bottom is a little drier now than we've seen it all night long. Everybody has moved up to that darker dirt where it's a little bit more of a light. It looks like Dennis Hart has a little bit of a problem getting in. That car is a little bit stiff and wants to bounce a little bit on him, but he's doing a great job keeping it under control coming off the corner.
And of course, unlike stock car racing, well, there's Tommy White as he brings out the yellow flag. I was about to say, unlike stock car racing, these guys do not have rear-view mirrors, so sometimes at some tracks they can have a signal man to tell them what gap they may have over the guy challenging for that position. But right now, I don't think Dennis Hart has any idea what kind of a gap he has.
He doesn't have any idea. He's running where he thinks the racetrack is fastest. It's the easiest thing to do is run right around the bottom because you know nobody can get inside of you. But right now he feels like it's not as fast. He's moved up on the racetrack, and most of the guys have followed him, so it must be a little faster up there.
Hall of Fame basketball coach Bobby Knight says you play against your potential, not the opposition, the potential. Is this a situation at this racetrack where these drivers are racing against the racetrack?
Well, of course, they're racing against the racetrack. It's very important on dirt to be smart enough to figure out what the racetrack's doing. Figuring that out is very, very important. The guys that do it best are the guys that win consistently on this kind of a racetrack.
Top 4 transfers, so Billy Garcia in car 19 has to move up 1 spot, and he has Wally Pancratz out in front of him. We have 4 laps complete, 6 laps to go, and the first 4 will transfer. We still have a 30-lap main event here.
Well, it's been exciting so far. I'll tell you, these guys they're running hard. They're doing a much better job. They're using a lot more restraint, a lot more patience, but they're still running hard. They're going for it, man.
And look at this move to the inside by Robbie Block. Cannot make it stick as they work off that 4th corner. The green flag flies on lap number 5.
It's getting a little bit rough out there, Gary. You can see these guys starting to bicycle, jump up on 2 wheels. That cushion is getting a little rough. Robbie's going to run in there, try to give him a shot. He can't do it. It's too slick on the bottom right at this moment.
Robbie actually caught that inside burn going into turn 4. That upset the chassis, and he actually lost some ground because here comes Gopher in the yellow 66 in 3rd position.
We're not giving that guy enough credit. We haven't talked a lot about him, but he's right up in the points, and he's running that race car hard and fast. He's doing a great job.
And Wally Pancratz rides back in 4th position, the yellow 34. He's had terrible luck here the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him finally getting a break. He's had so many bad breaks. It's good to see him getting a good break. He's running the race car great, but the story is still up front. Block is going to try everything. This is a semi-feature. He's got it made, but he still wants to win this race.
Well, he's also learning about the racetrack. This racetrack has changed since his heat race. The inside groove starts to dry out. He has a bit of a cushion to use on the high side, but he's not using it.
That's exactly right, but look right there. He still, if you hit that corner just right, you can still get around. He got up on the berm, up on 2 wheels. That's pretty dangerous to do.
There's the white flag. Larry Rice, 1 lap to go, and here comes Hofer. Hofer comes in 3rd position. Here comes this battle down the backstretch.
He doesn't need to win it, but he doesn't care. He doesn't know that. He's still going to go for it. That's what makes a race car driver a race car driver. It doesn't matter if you win, but you're still going to get it everything you got.
And the money's not in his semi, but he was going for it. He finishes 2nd. We're speaking, a little bump there perhaps, a little deliberate bump.
Oh, I don't think that was intentional, in my opinion, but I tell you, I've seen a lot of those kind of bumps that were intentional.
Ron Hazelton has a hot power plant as he climbs out there in the infield.
Yeah, he had a little bad luck. He's obviously had a motor problem, and it's not been too good, but that's the way it goes sometimes. The race is over. All right, oh, here we go, checkered flag. We're coming down for the checkered flag. They're both into the corner.
Now, you say this was not deliberate. Let's take a look again.
Well, you never know. You never know. They run in there side by side. Robbie's a little frustrated. Robbie's a little frustrated. He wanted to win the race. He goes out there, I don't know.
That was deliberate. That was deliberate. That was deliberate.
He certainly could have missed it. Let's put it that way.
That was deliberate. That was premeditated. Well, we're going to come back there as we take a look at the top 4. We're going to come back to Ventura Raceway here in Ventura, California for our 30-lap main event and some more news from Dave Despain.
Ventura, quiet racetrack after a dramatic and exciting semifinal here, a race that nobody really had to win, and boy, did they go out and race it up for it. Those were last week's 1-2 finishers, of course, in the main event here. It's been an exciting 3 weeks out here at Ventura, and we've certainly enjoyed bringing you all the midget action. We're going to be heading back to the Midwest 2 weeks from tonight, actually, for the first of our Indianapolis editions of Saturday Night Thunder, and we're going to have that action for you all summer long. So if you like open wheel competition, you're going to get your fill of it right here on ESPN. We've had a good time during our California visits, and one of the things that has been most enjoyable here has been the opportunity to get out and meet some old friends and see some of the sights. And I think we're going to have the opportunity right now to share with you one of the most interesting field trips that we made since we came to Southern California. This was last weekend. Where in Southern California can you find more open-wheeled racing thrills than Ventura Fairgrounds? Well, the answer is down here, 175 miles south in the hills overlooking Carlsbad, California. No, it's not a racetrack. Those boulders back there would make broad sliding pretty tough. Actually, this is the home of Dick Wallen. You regular auto racing viewers on ESPN know that name. Dick is the creator of the world's largest collection of open-wheeled racing films. For most of his life, Dick Wallen has haunted the racetracks of America. Motorsports was his passion. A camera was his tool. What began as a simple project to help a friend became a career of 3 decades, documenting the glory days of American motorsports. His life's work is a vast library of the most exciting, dramatic, and historically significant racing footage to be found anywhere. A visit to his home is a trip back in time. Well, Dick, let's go back to the beginning. How did you get involved in the business of filming all these races?
Well, I went to automobile racing from 1947, became an avid fan of midget racing and dirt track racing early on, and Ray Crawford was one of my favorite drivers, and Ray, of course, was in the Mexican road race and had a camera mounted on his car, and I took some movies at 8mm movies at Sacramento, and I took the movies over to show to Ray. He owned a supermarket, and he was real impressed with it and said, you know, I think you ought to maybe take movies professionally. He felt that the films were exciting and thrilling, so he introduced me to a fellow that produced movies at that time. And I remember the first thing the guy said to me, he said, well, you're a friend of Ray, so you're a friend of mine, but the first thing you have to do is spend $500 to buy a camera, and I'll pay you $50 for filming the race. And that's how the racing started, and that was 1958. And I tried to film in such a way that I could put the audience in the best seat in the house.
I guess in a lot of ways, your lifestyle must have been a lot like that of the race drivers. Tell me about that.
Originally, I had thought that I wanted to be a race driver, and I was married at a very young age in my teens, and my wife didn't know my plans, and when I told her that I decided I wanted to be a race driver, I already had 2 or 3 major drivers that were going to help tutor me. I was told real quick that I'd be getting a divorce, so that changed my mind on how I was going to be in the racing business.
Wallen never made it to the cockpit, but he has spent his life in the company of America's great drivers. He treasures the personal mementos of their careers.
At the beginning, I collected virtually everything, and then I realized that I needed to kind of decide on what kind of collection I wanted to pursue, and the priority of the collection was anything that was personal, race driver's helmet from races, famous races, his autographs on his pictures, because after all, a picture, usually the driver looked at the picture, talked to me about the picture, signed the picture, and years later, I'm still able to look at that, and you know, there's a personal feeling that he was in contact with, and it's a great part of my collection.
Now let's talk about your latest project. You've gone far afield from the business of film into a book about board track racing. It's a fascinating piece of work, and I'd like to know the story behind it.
I would say the board tracks really created or set the cast for racing as we know it today. The high banks at Daytona, compared to the high banks that they had. I mean, some of the tracks were 40, 50 degrees, near 50 degrees in banking. And the streamlining and the lightweight and all the things that kind of evolved from the board tracks. And it took a super skill and a super talent. And the racing was very interesting.
If you had it all to do over again, do you think you'd rather have been in the cockpit?
Today, as I review racing as the big picture, I'm just extremely happy that I was able to be a part of so many decades of racing, because usually if you're a race driver back in the time when I was first interested in it, most of those fellows are retired and they're completely out of the picture. I'm still involved in the racing picture. I still know the people, and I enjoy very much the social part of it and being able to continue to be a part of racing. Even though we quit filming, we stopped our filming of races in 1987, but we still keep interest through the historical videos and, of course, with the production of a historical book.
An historical book indeed. It is called Guts, Gold, and Glory, the story of American board track racing. I guess you could call this a coffee table book. I have a small coffee table. This is the only book on it. But more than that, it's interesting reading. If you like history, and particularly the history of board track racing, I think you might be interested in Dick Wallen's book, and we appreciate his hospitality. I'm going to get my other gear on and head downstairs so I can talk to the winner after the main event is open. These main event drivers are getting ready to go, and we'll be right back live at Ventura.
The fan knows that I don't know Larry Rice because I don't even have an ESPN hat, but she's enjoying the show. Grow 'em young out here.
I know, Gary, but it messed up your hair anyway, so you don't need a hat. But
What's left of it?
That's right, that's right. We've all got that problem. That's a neat scene, though. It's just like Chris Economaki said last week. It's great to see the young people out here. I think that's the most exciting thing about coming out here and some of the other things we've seen.
There's our favorite push truck.
How about that? The bread truck, the Cornwell tool truck, is back out again, and they brought all their people out here this week. They got a whole contingent of people out here, and I think that's great getting people like that involved.
Well, we are lining up now. There's a good look at it. Actually, there is a miniature truck like this out here someplace this evening. It was just out in the infield, and maybe it's back in the pit area right now. I think, have you ever had a chance to drive a push truck?
No, I've never had it. Well, I've ridden in them, and I'll tell you what, it's kind of scary because you can run over those little cars real easy. It's a lot tougher job than it looks like, and you got to give these guys a lot of credit for coming out here.
Well, we have switched our in-car, the CarQuest Cage Cam, now riding along with Dan Ford in the red number 10. And as we talked about the push trucks, in a couple of weeks, we'll take a look at the possibility of going to onboard starters. I like that idea for midgets and sprints.
It would be a great idea for midgets and sprints. Guys have bellyached about having to do it before, but I think it's something that's going to be in the future. They might as well accept it and go on. But this is a great shot. Oh, look at there.
Look at the ruts down there, a rough racetrack.
I think that's turn one, Gary, and this is going to be a little rougher racetrack. They've had a problem the last 2 or 3 weeks. It gets a little rougher. The guys think the racetrack is going to get slicker, so they tighten their race cars up. Sleepy Tripp told me before this race, he said, I might spin out 3 times in the feature, but I'm not going to have my race car too tight like I've had it the last 2 weeks.
Well, keep in mind, their Friday night stock car programs began last night. The stock cars beat on this racetrack. What effect would that have?
Well, it might have some effect, but Jim Naylor does such a fantastic job of preparing this racetrack that this racetrack was excellent when we got here tonight. It dried out about semi-feature time, but just by looking at it, I'm betting that it's wetter now because the sun has gone down, the moisture's coming in off the ocean. It's going to be wetter now than it has been in the fourth.
Well, look at the record there for Sleepy Tripp at this racetrack. And once again, as we indicated, this could be a race of some historical significance because if he can win tonight, 132 career wins in USAC midget competition, an all-time record.
Well, let me tell you this, Gary. They flew in their mechanic. This car is a New Zealand-owned car. I mean, this has got to be the farthest away owned car in the whole United States. It's owned in New Zealand. The guy saw our first show last week. They show these shows on a delayed basis down there. He saw Sleepy have trouble. He flew Timmy Clark, the mechanic, up here. He arrived yesterday, and he's here to work on a race car. He says, no excuses, Sleepy. Go after it.
You know, speaking of where cars are owned from, we talked about the state of Wyoming last week being an unlikely place for racing. They sent us a brochure from the travel department. We have everything we've always wanted to know if we ever take a trip to Wyoming.
Hey, it looks beautiful in the brochures, guys. We'll tell you, help you all we can.
So, speaking of the stock car races here on Fridays, it's my understanding that next Friday evening for the local race fans here, we're going to have a special match race.
That's right. We're going to have a special match race with some little dwarf cars. Here's Keith Roush in that car from Wyoming. He starts up front. It's going to be very interesting to see. He had a little bad luck last week. We're going to see if he set the race car up right this time. Didn't get it quite so tight, so he doesn't do one of those Tommy tip-overs like he did last week.
Well, he was most impressive last week, working that outside groove or that cushion. Let's see. In fact, I think, well, we're not going to have the cushion tonight that we had last weekend. This will not be the kind of racetrack that we had last weekend.
It's never the same racetrack, and that's what makes dirt track racing so interesting. Every time you go out there, it's different. You have to guess, but you have to make an educated guess on what the racetrack is going to do. The guys that make that best educated guess are the best guys to finish.
Well, what's once again, we have about 3 or 4 cars that have yet to be pushed off. We'll line them up, we'll set the stage, and we'll go racing for 30 laps as we return to California. Nice, Dave Despain and Gary Lee live here at Ventura Raceway, Ventura, California, as we are ready to go racing in our 30-lap feature. George Ito will start inside the first row alongside Keith Roush in number 37. In the second row, Kevin Doty in number 70, Sleepy Tripp outside in number 1. In the third row, we'll have Robbie Flock on the inside, John Koper outside. The fourth row, we'll have Wally Pankratz inside in 34 alongside Dennis Hart, last week's winner, in number 15. In row 5, the 9th position, Andy Pierce in 91. Outside with our camera, Dan Ford in number 10X. In the 6th row, we find Lee Yetter in number 22 and Jimmy Sills in number 9. The 7th row, inside, Leland McSpadden, number 47, Hank Butcher outside in number 0. The 8th row, on the inside, Chris Malone in 7M and Stevie Reeves in 67. The 9th row, Larry Derwin in number 9 and Frank Pedregon in number 80. And the 10th row, on the inside, Paige Jones in 21, Rick Taylor in 76. Paige Jones was to have started inside the 3rd row, but after he was pushed off, Larry Rice, he stopped in the racetrack, meaning the penalty of going to the back of the pack.
That's right. Once you stop, after you've been started, you have to go to the back of the pack, and that's a huge disappointment for him because it's a long ways through all those cars from back there. It's going to be a real tough job, but the way he's been running, it is possible, believe me.
George Ito, last year's Rookie of the Year in the Western States Midgets, will bring them around for the start. The green flag flies, and we are racing here in California. Saturday Night Thunder underway, and from the outside front row position, it is Keith Rouse.
Okay, Keith Rouse got a good jump. He beat George Ito, but look at Trippy. Came from 4th. He's up on the top, in high, out low. He's going to give him a shot. Can't do it this time. He's going to have to watch him a little bit longer.
Well, there he goes again. Second on the inside, coming off the second corner. He may have it down the backstretch.
Oh, it's slipped. If Trippy ever gets out front, look at that. He takes the groove away. The groove is on top. He got in low. He went out there. He took the groove away from Rouse. Boy, it's going to be tough to beat that man now.
We can see history in the making here this evening at Ventura Raceway in Ventura, California, because this could be a record feature win for Sleepy Tripp, a 2-time national champion. Oh, he slips up in the first turn.
Oh, you don't make a mistake like that. Keith Rouse is no flop. That kid came right back in there and went for it, took that thing away. That is race car driving. That kid didn't give up. We said he didn't know that.
Well, give the crew their due on that number 37 car because Keith broke the axle in hot laps. They put a new front end under him, and he's leading right now.
That's right. He's doing a really good job. He's running that cushion and running it very, very well. I'll tell you, it's tough to run that cushion up there when the racetrack's a little bit rough like this, but he looks like he's got a wire.
Keith, though, right now is burning off a right rear as we go inside the cage, and that is a good shot from the front of the cage of Dan Ford looking back at Stevie Reeves in that red, white, and blue number 67.
And Dan Ford's been doing a great job this whole series. He has run hard in every race, and look at him here. Andy Pierce got caught out. Jimmy Sills in that 9 car went around him. He is on the move. He came from a long way back. I think he started clear back in about the 6th row.
Well, Sills may be the fastest car-driver combination here this evening. That's the Steve Lewis Performance Racing. And look at that move to the inside, and he goes by Wally Pankratz.
Hey, man, that kid is running that car hard. But look at Tripp. Everybody out there is running hard. Sills is really going for it, though, back there in the back. Look at Tripp. In high, out low. He's going to try that pass and move. He just doesn't seem to be able to make it work. Roush is hooked up too well around that cushion to make any bite.
Yeah, but look at Robbie Flock up in 3rd position, and he is closing. A
He's found the place he likes on the bottom.
A tangle over in the 4th corner.
We got a yellow.
Car stopped, and that would be Critter Malone, number 7, and I believe Paige.
Yep, that's
Paige Jones in the number 21. So they bring out the yellow with a great battle up in front right before that yellow, though, as Paige walks away. This will be his last night of competition here because his brother PJ, who's racing in the Indy Lights this weekend down in Phoenix, will be back next week in the cockpit of car 21.
Yeah, it looks like he bent that front axle. Probably when he hit Critter there, he bent the front axle. He knew it was not able to start, so he jumped out, ran across the racetrack, and got out there. He's probably not a very happy young man right now, but, you know, anybody that's that intense that tries that hard is not going to be very happy.
8 laps are now complete as we take a look at Chris Malone, and he is pushed away, so he will refire and start at the back of the pack, but it looks like the evening will be over for Paige Jones.
Gary, I got to tell you, there's so many things that happen on this racetrack every lap. It's hard to keep them straight. I mean, those two guys in front are putting on a fantastic show. Jimmy Stills, the smoking guy, by guys 1, 2 at a time back there in the back. Robbie Flock is coming up, running the bottom. He has found a groove on the bottom, and if he continues to run down there as fast as he did those last 2 laps, he's going to give those first 2 guys a run for the money pretty quick.
Still started in 12th position, and I think had he been able to start up toward the front on our point system, that he may be challenging for the lead right now. But once again, Keith Roush continues to hold off Sleepy Tripp. Tripp had the lead for a while, but made a mistake. Robbie Flock is 3rd, George Ito 4th, and John Koper. Well, I tell you, every night offers us something different, and this has been an introduction to midget racing for Dave. How do you like the situation? Who do you like this race, Dave?
Well, let's talk about 21-year-old Keith Roush. The first guy I thought worthy of a nomination is Jeff Gordon's successor to win a bunch of TV races and then leapfrog to the next step in his career. He won our TV opener out here a couple of weeks ago, and then he showed everybody where the cushion was in his heat race last week, and that's when I jumped out on the limb and said, okay, this kid could be the next Jeff Gordon, and he probably went out and flipped in the main event, but I still think he could be the next Jeff Gordon.
Well, I'd like to be, I'd like to win a lot of races like he has and end up where he's at now.
Okay, so there's the kid. All right, he doesn't say a whole lot, right? But I remember Jeff Gordon when he started winning races here on TV. Those interviews weren't really long and drawn out until he'd won about 10 out of the 17 and was on TV every week, and then he became quite a little spokesman. Roush, more importantly, here tonight, has passed Sleepy Tripp on the racetrack. It's the classic change of the guard story, the 37-year-old veteran who can break the all-time USAC midget victory record here tonight against the 21-year-old kid who came out of nowhere to win the opener. I think it's a toss-up, Roush versus Tripp. I don't know if the guys have an opinion in the booth on who's going to win it. I guarantee you this is going to be good.
Larry Rice, I would have to go with Tripp because of his experience, but I was impressed with Roush. When he was running second, he was using some patience. He waited for Sleepy to make a very rare mistake and took the lead.
You don't want to count Robbie Flock out. You don't want to count Jimmy Stills out. These guys are both heading for the front, too. Uh-oh, a little bit tight. Saw him. He did a great job recovering. That car got a hook to run through the front end out, but he got it back under control very quickly and kept his position.
Well, right now, Rob, a problem down there in turn. Will they all make it through turn 4? Yes, that was Stevie Reeves. And looky here, we have a new leader.
There goes Trippy. He tried that in high out low. He tried it. He tried it. He tried it. He finally made it work.
You know who's working harder right now than Sleepy? His wife, Erin, who works with us up here in the booth. She's working as hard, if not harder, than Sleepy.
Okay, now Keith Roush, we're going to see what he does now. Is he going to try to go after Sleepy, or is he going to try to protect that second spot? He sees Robbie Flock back there. He's got to make a decision. Where am I going to run? If I run high, I'm going to give Flock the opening. If I run low, I can maybe hold on to second. It looks like he's going to try to hang on to second instead of going after first.
For you Jimmy Stills fans, he is up to 5th right now, and if he has a yellow, he might make a real race out of this. Once again, Flock tries the inside. He may have a problem. That's Leland McSpadden. And what did you say on the top of the show? If you can't win, be spectacular. He always is, and Leland is on his head.
Yeah.
And that will bring out the red flag.
Tippy Tornado, that was a pretty bad flip. He went over several times. And again, the same thing we've talked about before. We didn't see it, but I can guarantee you the race car was so tight, you went in there on that cushion, hooked the rut, and bango, she went right on over on him. I think he's okay. You can see him moving his head. He's shaking his head up and down. Yeah, I'm okay. So he's shaking his head. Once he's doing that way, he's okay.
Well, let's take a look right here as he is on the outside of George Ito, and let's see exactly what happens. You're right. He's tight. He hooks it and goes on over.
Exactly. Went in there. That right rear just got way too tight a hold. Brought it up on the right side, and once it does that, boy, you really gotta have a lot of luck and a lot of presence of mind to save it. That thing, he was just going way too fast in order to save it. He did the right thing. He turned the wheels to the right, but he just had way too much speed going.
Well, and there is Sleepy climbs out of the car. We have 13 laps now complete. We still have 17 laps to go, and once again with Sleepy leading. Well, I'm not sure what the problem is here, Larry. Any indication?
I can't tell. It looked like they had a tire changer out there, like they might be wanting to change tires. You can see that he's going to have to do more work than changing tires on that race car because it's beat up pretty bad.
Well, once again, we could have USAC midget racing history in the making here as we take a look at the man that could make history this evening if he can stay out in front and win a race. But he has a lot of competition up in front. As we've completed 13 laps of the 30-lap main event, Sleepy will start Up in front of the restart, Keith Roush riding in second. Then it's Robbie Flock, John Cofer, and Jimmy Sills rounding out the top 5. Jimmy may still have a shot at this event. We have 17 laps to go. Join us as we return. Of 30 laps now complete. Once again, Sleepy Tripp leading when the red came out with Roush, Flock, Cofer, and Sills rounding out the top 5. And I think Dave Despain standing by with the Tempe Tornado to talk about that ride he took down at turn 1.
Yeah, he can't hear you. The Tempe Tornado, they call him. He got upside down here. We got a monitor so that Leland McSpadden can take a look at this. But real quick, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Let's take a look at it. You haven't seen this except from the inside. Take a look at it and tell me what runs through your mind here.
Well, I got in there, and I got in that hole right there, and it started to stand up, and I got it down okay, and then it caught the cushion, and just one of them deals, you know, it gets in the hole, and it can't get loose. But, you know, we found a pretty good groove on the outside. We're starting to go pretty good up there. We've moved quite a few spots since that last yellow, and I think we had a good shot of winning, but like I said, we just caught the hole wrong and got it up in the air.
Glad to see you in good shape. We're going to get back up to the booth real quick. Go check on the Sleepy Tripp situation. Glad to see Leland okay.
Well, first we saw Ron climb out. He checked his boot like he may have had some oil on his shoe. They took the hood off the car, and there's a problem there, Larry.
Yeah, we can't tell exactly. It looks like they're looking in at the ignition of the car. I can't tell exactly what they're doing. They might have been checking the plugs. They checked the stagger on the car. They didn't make any changes there. He's pretty happy with that. I don't think it's a big problem, but I think Sleepy wants to win this race. He wants to make sure everything's perfect. If he's got a chance to work on it, you know how Sleepy works on them things. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he's not going to let a caution flag go by without working on it either.
Well, he has a crew chief from New Zealand, so he better do well this evening.
He's got to get him to work, too. That's right. This young kid, this Timmy Clark, he came all the way up here. He was a stooge down there when I first went back down there in the 1970s. He just liked to push the cars around. Now then, he builds those Cosworth engines down in New Zealand and sends them up here to Sleepy to run. That's how much confidence they've got in that young man, and he's obviously doing a good job.
Well, it couldn't be that serious, or Sleepy would not be back in the race car. So perhaps Dave Despain could give us more information on the problem in car number 1.
The problem is in the fuel feed system. It is a barrel valve that feeds fuel into the injectors that is causing the problem. They thrashed all they could to try to make repairs on it, and now they're waiting for a push truck. Let me stick a word in here. Sleepy, do you think you got it fixed? Do you have any idea? I guess I'm losing. We're back live at Ventura. Sleepy Tripp still has life. There's still hope. The yellow has bunched him up. Gary Lee said he thought Jimmy Sills looked like a winner early tonight. Sills blasted around Sleepy to take the lead, and now they're a half lap away from the green flag. 4 laps to decide it. I'm jealous. You guys are going to call a great finish.
Here we come to start lap 27. 4 laps to go. The battle now in front. And look at that jump that Jimmy Sills got. The Placerville Petrobras is in trouble.
He caught the hole. Sleepy's got a chance. Boy, it's going to be tough. If he catches that again, Sleepy's going to come in there and take that race away.
That's the same hole that McSpadden hit down there.
It's a very tough to run that cushion. It's faster, but it's very, very difficult to run up there because it's so rough. He's doing a good job, but it just takes a bad break 1 or 2 times.
Well, it's going to take a break like that for Sleepy to win this one because he's being challenged right now for the 2nd spot. And look at that gap that's developed between 1st and 2nd. A couple of laps to go. And Jimmy Sills in the Steve Lewis Performance Racing V-Scurdy is out in front. There's the white flag. 1 lap to go, and Jimmy Sills is going to pick up the victory here if he doesn't make a mistake.
He's got it handled. He's got that thing really working well. He had 1 or 2 mistakes where he hit a hole, but everything else has been great. He drove a heck of a race with that race car, kept it on all 4 wheels, and was rewarded by winning the race. Sleepy did a fantastic job. He ran 2nd, and Robbie Flock, he drove his heart out and ran 3rd. It's getting tough out here, guys.
And Keith Roush came home 4th. 5th was Hank Butcher. So what an excellent ride from 12th starting position. He certainly had a workout in that white number 9 this evening.
Well, you can't say he didn't earn that victory. Anybody that runs from 12th on a racetrack like this, picked his way through, did a fantastic job to get to the front. You got to feel sorry for Sleepy. He drove a great race. He did everything right. He just didn't do it quite as well as Jimmy Sills did. Robbie Flock, Keith Roush, they all drove very good races, but only one guy can win, and tonight the man was Jimmy Sills.
Well, Jimmy Sills has made his way down to victory lane where he thought he had a very good chance at being 2 weeks ago, but he got tangled up with this man right here when Sleepy Tripp, by his own admission, made a mistake and rolled over in the first turn.
You know, Gary, okay, well, let's go on down to Dave Despain. I think he's got our winner.
Yeah, Jimmy's not even unbuckled yet. Let me stick my head in here. The USAC Silver Crown champ can obviously drive a midget. That was a heck of a race.
Well, we had the car working really nice. Bob East was wrenching on it tonight, and he got it hooked up real nice, and Carrera shocks were working real good, and we got working up good where it was rough, and nobody really wanted to race up there that hard, and we were just a little smoother than they were, except for a couple times bicycling going into one. It was smooth.
I wanted to ask you about that. About 3 to go, you just about handed it back to Sleepy after the restart there, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw him underneath me in 3 and 4, and I wanted to get a nice corner in 1 and 2, and I thought I went high enough to miss that hole, but I still snagged it a little bit and then bicycled, and so the next few laps I ran a little bit lower on the racetrack.
What about next week? You going to be able to come back here and make it 2 in a row? You know, the kids been winning them up till now. It's nice to see the veterans get in here.
Yeah, well, you know, we have had some bad luck. This is the first one we finished, and now that things are looking up, I definitely want to come back and run.
Congratulations, buddy. Nice job. Thanks. Remember, that's the guy who called this a racy little joint. Back topside for the results. Can I get the Sleepy Tripp? We'll try to do that real quick, guys.
Well, once again, as we take a look at the top 15, Jimmy Sills wins it over Sleepy Tripp. Robbie Flock, Keith Roush, and Hank Butcher rounding out the top 5. In the second 5 this evening, finishing 6th, Kevin Doty. Then it was Dennis Hart, who won here 1 week ago. George Ito was 8th. John Cofer 9th, and Stevie Reeves 10th. 11th through 15th tonight. Rick Taylor, Lee Yetter, Dan Ford, Frank Pedregon, and Chris Malone. So once again, the third different winner in 3 nights here. And there's a good look at the surf as it pounds the shore here in the Pacific.
This is a racy little joint. I'll tell you what, it has a fantastic racetrack. These guys did a great job. Every one of them deserves a lot of credit. You just can't realize how tough it is to run here.
Well, I think we can find out how tough it is if we go down and talk to Sleepy Tripp.
Yeah, I want to try to get to this guy and find out if, in fact, they got the car fixed or if you had an excuse. What's the story?
No excuse. We had a barrel valve was falling off on the red, and we tightened that back up, and no, the car was okay. Jimmy Sills was just quick.
You guys had a heck of a race, didn't you?
Well, I was waiting for him to fall over, but he wouldn't do it for me. I couldn't beat him on my own. I was thinking maybe he might fall over.
What about that? I'm not going to ask you about the record. I'm going to ask you about this racetrack. It's been 3 different tracks in 3 different weeks, and you've struggled a little bit here, haven't you?
Oh, I've run like a dog for the last two races, and all the experts call me during the week and tell me how bad I am. So, no, we made a few changes. Timmy Clark come in from New Zealand, and we've just been getting ahead of the racetrack, and we were fair tonight, but a lot better than we've been. We've been terrible. Ugh.
Okay, buddy. Well, we'll see you next week. That is racetrack candor right there. Sleepy Tripp still trying to get that record. That pretty well wraps it up here. We started at the top of the show talking about the kids, and look who ended up on top at the end. It was the old veterans who did the job. That's going to wrap up the story from right here. The CarQuest Auto Parts people bringing you the race cam tonight. And for your nearest CarQuest Auto Parts store, you give them a call, 1-800-492-HEART. You'll find it at CarQuest. Coming up later on tonight, here we've got the whole NFL story on the draft. Baseball tonight is yours at 11 o'clock. Sports Center will be coming your way at 11:30. Race fans, stick around because Monday night, we're going to have it for you. Winston Cup action, 8 o'clock Eastern time. The North Wilkesboro racing will be coming your way. I want you to be sure and tune in for that. It has been a rather wild night here at Ventura. We're going to come back and do it again next Saturday night. I'm Dave Despain for Gary Lee and Larry Rice. So long.
Friday night at Bristol, Tennessee, on those same high banks, the Busch Grand National cars will compete in a 200-lap event. And then on Saturday night, as you just saw, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the Busch 500, the Winston Cup stars as they engage in that tremendous points chase they have going on. And, of course, next week, the 29th Annual NHRA U.S. Nationals here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Top fuelers, funny cars, and pro stockers, well over 1,000 entries will compete here as they do every year next Thursday through Labor Day. This is the 19th Annual Tony Holman Classic. This used to be a dirt race, and now it's a pavement race. And this race really could go to anybody in that field. Steve, do you have a feeling as to who might be strong tonight?
You know, how can you guess? You got Bettenhausen, Jeff Gordon, Butler, Alderson, Vogler, Fedewa, Hammond, Brett Stahl. How do you choose from that? Green flag.
The two-time and defending champion Steve Butler takes the early lead. Steve Butler has had a season he would just as soon forget. He could really turn things around emotionally for himself if he were to win here tonight. You're riding with Floridian Wayne Hammond.
The car looks like it's working real good. He's just got a little bit of push in the corner. Not enough to hurt him, but enough to make the car stable. Great view from the car. Great view of how the cars move around and how the suspension works and how the front tire rolls on the rim.
Steve Butler has not won a USAC sprint car main event in 1989.
Got a little smoke coming off the right side of Hammond's car there. I heard you off the left rear of Hammond's car.
Butler continues to lead. Gary Bettenhausen is running in second position with 2 very clean laps down, and the first 8 cars have distanced themselves from the rest of the field. Running in third is Mark Alderson. Young Jeff Gordon is fourth. New track record holder Rich Vogler is fifth. Gary Pedua is sixth. David Harrison is seventh, and Wayne Hammond is eighth. And as I told you, those 8 cars have moved out in front of everybody else.
It's a great race. Very, very competitive race. Oh! Bettenhausen on fire. Fire is still going on Gary. It's a fuel fire. No, it's an oil fire. There's a lot of smoke out of it. He's unloading. He's up out of the car.
Gary Bettenhausen
He's out on the ground.
bails out, and the car continues to go on its own. It's coming to a stop inside of turn number 2, although it is still rolling approximately about 5 miles an hour. It stops now, still on fire. There you can see the machine. Gary Bettenhausen bailed out, similar to some incidents that we have seen over the years at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I remember when Parnelli Jones exited his machine like that one year.
If you notice when Gary was sitting on the ground, you could see his legs. See how black his legs are? When it blew up, it sprayed oil or whatever it was on the inside of him, and it's hot on him. I'll guarantee you it's hot. So get these off. Get these off.
Gary
he wants
ran
water.
to water. There's a lot of casual water sitting around. We've had heavy rains in the Indianapolis area the past couple of days, and Gary knew that there was some water down there. He went right to it. You know, I go back in history. I also remember Norm Batten back in the 1930s bailing out of an Indianapolis car coming down the front stretch of the Speedway. Now here it is again. Gary is running second. He's that first white car on your screen.
He runs second, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. It just had to explode an engine extremely hard. Somehow it caught the oil tank on fire. Whether it's a wet sump motor or not, I don't know, but it's just pouring oil fire out the back. Now it's got another gulp of oil coming back in to catch on fire. He's already unbuckled his belt. He's looking for a way out of this thing. He's standing up, steering it,
You
just
can see his
barely
helmet
hanging
come
on.
off, yep. He steers it off the racetrack.
Oh, yeah, he started off the racetrack. Did a great job, and all he wanted to do was make sure he was clear and get out of the car. Bails off the top, does a back gainer. I'd give him about a 4 on a dismount. Not too good.
Boy, that was really a courageous move. Now, some of you may think, well, yeah, but he left the car. But what he did, he got it down on the grass, and he knew it was going slow enough that it was going to stop.
It was going to stop. What a great picture this is. What a terrible atrocity it is to see happen to Gary running so well. But look at the great film work.
I'll tell you, Gary did an excellent job. He stayed with that car to the last possible moment, and it takes courage to jump off of a car going maybe 15 or 20 miles an hour and take a header. I mean, he dove off head first. He's obviously equipped with the safety helmet and all the other paraphernalia that goes along with race car safety, but that's one situation you don't plan for.
Here's the 66 car, Wayne Hammond. Remember, I said a while ago he was starting to smoke a little bit when he saw it from the front view and from the rear view. Now, this could affect the points.
There is Gary Bettenhausen, and we remind you that he has a left arm that is virtually useless, and he did all that one-handed and just some quick thinking. Gary Bettenhausen appears to be okay. We'll be back with the re-green after this. You're looking at the Galleon Sporting Goods Special of Gary Bettenhausen, a brand new car here tonight, the Magnum chassis, which erupted in a spectacular flame as he went down the front stretch running in second position. Gary Bettenhausen bailed out of that car while it was still rolling across the grass. He did bring it down to a safe speed, and the fire was filling the cockpit, and Gary made the election to bail out when he thought the car was in a safe position. We believe that there may be some burn injuries to Gary's leg. They are at this moment trying to load Gary. He got out of the race car under his own power. Gary, can you update us on the situation?
When you talk with the emergency crew, Larry, they tell us right now he is suffering apparently from some burns on the legs. We cannot tell you how severe. He will be taken to the medical complex here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. If needed, then we will have to transfer him downtown to Methodist. But once again, we cannot tell you how bad the burns may be on the legs. But right now, he will be taken first to the center here at Raceway Park. So we will stay on top of this and come back and give you an update as soon as possible, as the feature will continue here at Indianapolis Raceway Park on Thursday, Thunder. Stay with us.
To witness the most awesome display of raw power on Earth. 15,000 pounds of fire and steel leap into the air and crush their way to glory in the ultimate battle of the monster trucks. ESPN and TNT Motorsports presents Turning the Power On. Video excitement as close as your telephone. Feel the thunder. Hear the deafening power of America's ultimate muscle sport, truck and tractor pulling. You've got a front row seat for the thrill of the monsters. Modified Superstock, modified four-wheel, super modified two-wheel drive, TNT Stomper Chevy, Jim Lyons, Ken Lamont, and the wild two-wheelers. The Banter Brothers multi-engine pulling beast, and featuring the ultimate Renegade Monster Truck Challenge. Turning the power on. Now on video for only $19.95, only through this TV offer. Order now and get a video bonus. The hilarious crazy car bloopers, upended monsters, collisions, exploding engines, and more on Turning the Power On. You can't have a better time for under $20.
Here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park during the Tony Holman Classic from Claremont, Indiana. Now, just a reminder that from Soldier Field in Chicago, live at 8 p.m. Sunday, an NFL preseason contest featuring the Kansas City Chiefs and their new coach, Marty Schottenheimer, versus the Chicago McMahonless Bears as they perform against each other this Sunday night from Soldier Field in Chicago. The Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series, you can see that the point standings there on your screen. We are trying to update this as the night goes on. And right now, Steve, Jeff Gordon, the 18-year-old Jeff Gordon, has moved into the lead.
Yes, he has. Now, he has to run a good race tonight to stay there because there are a lot of guys that are up front that can beat him in the points. So it's going to be a tough race all the way.
After 3 laps have been completed, here is the running order in tonight's 30-lap feature, the Holman Classic. Steve Butler, who, interestingly enough, has won the last 2 of these. He had led something like the last 52 laps in a row, is leading this one again. So even though we've made the switch from dirt to pavement and Butler's had this atrocious year, his record remains intact. We're now up to about 58, the last 58 consecutive Holman Classic laps. This guy has led.
And this been on pavement and on dirt at Terre Haute. So what can you say except the guy he's running very hard in this race.
Now, Wayne Hammond did pull into the pits along with Bob Fry, by the way, during this long yellow flag as the cage cam shows you Hammond. And Steve, you commented earlier that Hammond was smoking. Do you think it was engine or was it a bad push?
No, it was a little oil smoke. It was probably a loose valve cover because they went in, lifted the hood, and I think they fixed it because, of course, we don't see any at the slow speed. We'll wait until he gets going and look back and see how it's working at fast speed. But I would imagine that was what it was oil smoke.
Bill Carey tells the field to be ready to go the next time around. There are 4 or 5 cars in this race that if you look closely on the left upright, you'll see a yellow light. They are using a system called the Race Safe system. It's experimental tonight here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. And whenever the yellow light is on in the speedway, those 4 or 5 cars also have a yellow light illuminated on their left front upright. And from time to time tonight, you might see that. But the flagman has told them they should be ready to go the next time around to resume the Holman Classic. And the green flag is out. We're underway again.
These single file starts are extremely fast. It makes the first corner a wide open corner. You don't have to take 2 or 3 laps to get up to speed because you get to the first corner, you are wide open.
Mark Alderson in that white silver numeral number 52 is running second behind Steve Butler. We have a crash in turn number 4. It looks like it's Greg Staub. Greg Staub, the driver who really made a name for himself running the high bank quarter-mile dirt down near Cincinnati, the Lawrenceburg Speedway, who won here a year ago, has hit the outside wall. You can see ripping off the right rear tire.
Ripped the tire off. From this thing, you can't tell how much other damage there is. The radius rod looks straight on the rear, and the wheel doesn't look like it's bent. So possibly the tire went down is what caused the damage.
Staub was 6th in Hardee's series points here at IRP, 5th in points overall in USAC, and his 1 career win came here. His best finish ever has been a 5th in the Holman Classic. And Gary Lee is standing by with yet another update from down pit side. Gary?
Well, this is Kerry Bettenhausen, one of Gary's twin sons. Give us an update first on your dad's condition.
Well, I was down there at the area where he stopped and got out of the car, and he appears to have second-degree burns on the inside of both of his thighs.
Now, you told me they're going to fly him to Methodist Hospital to treat those burns?
Yes, I guess just because of the pain involved. They want to get him down there and treat him for the pain as soon as possible.
Now, tell us what you have ascertained actually happened.
Well, we're not sure, but since we haven't seen the car yet, but apparently the drive shaft let go, and our fuel pump is mounted off the back of the camshaft right above the drive shaft between the driver's knees, and apparently when the drive shaft let go, it took the fuel pump with it.
You were saying something about Rich Vogler got the drive shaft?
Yeah, apparently Rich Vogler threw the drive shaft out going down the front straightaway. It ended up in his lap. That's what we heard.
Well, of course, those of us that have followed Gary Bettenhausen's career know it's been laced with great talent, but also some very terrible luck. A very scary situation here at Raceway Park this evening.
Well, Steve, I think Gary would tell you, if you can't win, be spectacular. I don't think he wanted it to be quite that serious, but he bought a brand new car and a brand new sponsor, and they did make some headlines.
You know, I was entirely wrong. I thought it was an oil fire. I thought the engine exploded. It makes all the sense to me now that with that fuel pump in the cockpit, that's where the fire was coming from. It broke a fuel fitting off, no doubt. I hope this is Greg Staub walking back from his crash. He's all done, apparently. He looks dejected. I hope this won't keep Gary out of the Hoosier 100 that comes up this Sunday night, because the first time in the night race, I know he wanted to run that race and do well.
And speaking about missing Hoosier 100s, it's been a long time since Steve Chassis has missed one, hasn't it?
That's right. I had a streak of 14 in a row going. I would have been 15 this year.
But Steve was injured in an Indianapolis car accident at the Michigan International Speedway a couple weeks ago, is still laid up. Incidentally, a lot of questions about Eddie Horn from Defiance, Ohio. He was released from the hospital this week. He is headed home. Also, Red Stoker has asked us to pass this along. He was involved in a crash in a preliminary. They took him to the hospital. He said, "Tell my wife, though, I am okay. I'm all right, honey."
Here we go for the start again. Another good, clean start so far. It's always a question mark to get through the first lap on a restart because everybody's charging hard. Here goes Rich on the inside. I don't know if the V6 has enough power to get by. It doesn't appear to. Now we're back on the end car. I don't see any smoke coming out of the engine compartment, so apparently they got that problem fixed up and dried up.
The red number 7 is Dave Durnwald from Tiffin, Ohio. The yellow number 20 from Phoenix, Arizona is Bob Fry, actually Wickenburg, Arizona, but I'm sure that more of you have heard of Phoenix than have heard of Wickenburg.
Butler is holding on to a very comfortable lead at the moment. As soon as, well, here almost, I think as soon as Vogler gets by Alderson, and it's not going to be easy because Mark's running a good, strong, fast race. When he gets by, we'll see how fast Butler is.
Mark Alderson, who came to USAC in the 1970s, has never won a USAC sprint car main event. And it is truly incredible that in all those years, as competitive as he has run in sprint cars and in championship dirt cars, that he's never picked up one of these main events. Rich Vogler, on the other hand, has won 163 main events now in USAC, and he is really being put to the task to get around Alderson. He has got to use every single moment of his experience to get around Mark.
See, what you're seeing here is a classic example of the momentum up top. Rich is faster if he was in the top groove, but he has to get by on the bottom. And he just might make it. He made it right there. He made it right there. I don't know whether Mark pushed a little bit or Rich just had a good, clean corner. But he sure made it by nicely.
Well, this battle that was developing for a position between Alderson and Vogler, keep in mind, that's a battle between teammates from last week in the Midgets, because Alderson has been working as a crew member on Vogler's Midgets this season, so he got in the backup car last week.
Now he's catching Butler. He's catching him very quickly. This is going to be, I think, a little tough job to get by because Butler, he's won this thing twice. He wants to win another one. He just came back off an injury, and he has something to prove to himself.
And as we told you that Steve Butler has now led something like the last 60 laps in a row, but Vogler gets a nice bite on the inside of turn number 4, and Rich Vogler looks like he's going to move into the lead.
Sure looks that way. That car is hooked up extremely well. That's not loose at all, and it's amazing how much horsepower that little Buick V6 is making.
And so Rich Vogler finally on seats Steve Butler from the throne. He has been on the throne of the Hoosier 100, or make that the Holman Classic for 3 years now.
Here's a team race now. Hammond is trying to get by Hewitt. Hewitt looks extremely loose on the outside. Hammond just can't quite get by him.
Steve, they are in the middle of 8 cars. You can see up ahead, the very front car in line is Jerry Niemeyer. There is Jack Hewitt getting sideways coming out of turn number 2. Those 8 cars are 7th through 14th, and boy, they have been going at it tooth and nail for the last 5 or 6 laps. Jerry Niemeyer is running that preferred line about 2/3 of the way up the speedway. That's Frank Weiss, the former bodyguard for Paul Newman. He is running right behind Niemeyer, and you see Hammond darting down to the inside. Hammond makes that big swing to the inside, trying to get by.
Remember, Hammond came from the back after the yellow flag, and right behind him you see the number 20 car, Fry. He was also in the back.
Now, that is Jack Hewitt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's Jack Hewitt in the team car to Wayne Hammond. There is Eric Gordon. He won a heat race today. Now, there is that 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place cars. Niemeyer. Hammond has now moved to 8th, and Frank Weiss is running in 9th. Now we're back to the 11th on back.
Confusing to me.
Well, the 2 team cars look exactly alike. They're both blue with the orange and yellow numerals, number 66. And then again, that's the mostly known for dirt tracking Jack Hewitt, Bob Fry, who's underneath him.
What a great move. Bob just stuck like glue out, but just turned left and drove underneath me. Extremely quick pass. But you see how much faster Fry is. He's really pulling out on. Oh, look at this tire smoke.
That black car right behind Hewitt is the dirt tracker, Kevin Huntley. Now, we've not seen Kevin that often on pavement, but he secured a solid ride for a 90 and moved into the main event. Now, back up front, Vogler continues to run first. The race is half over, 16 laps down, and Steve Butler is in an agonizing second place, but I think that he's slipping backwards.
It's a good battle for 3rd and 4th. There's good battles all over this racetrack, but this is
that's Mark Alderson and Gary Fedewa. Fedewa was the 2nd fastest qualifier tonight, and Alderson had his best qualifying time of the year here at IRP. He is 9th in both IRP pavement points as well as overall points, and Fedewa, who has really come on strong here at IRP in the past couple of weeks, has moved up to 12th in IRP points.
Gary Fedewa is a pavement specialist, basically, from up in Michigan. And when they come down here to run Raceway Park, they really enjoy it because it's a very fast, very exciting racetrack.
Gary Fedewa in car number 42 looks to the inside. Now he looks to the outside of Mark Alderson. Back to the inside again. Fedewa, like the dog wagging the tail, is trying to find a place where either Alderson is not strong or waiting for Alderson to make a mistake.
Yeah, there it might be right. Oh, no, not quite. Alderson is running a real smooth race. One of his better races he's run here at Raceway Park. And it's some other race at a different time. It might have been a leading ride.
That white car that you just saw pull in, the nose is sticking out there behind Jim Keeker's car, is Jim Mahoney. He had quite an adventure tonight. He did not qualify through his heat race. He had that exciting semi-feature, did get into the main.
And that was probably the best I've seen the Valvoline sprint car run in the whole series. Keeker gave it one heck of a ride tonight. Larry Fritz, who usually drives that car, has retired from sprint cars because after he got hurt, he decided he couldn't take the time away from his Just Jags business, and it makes more sense to him, he said, to work than to race.
In 18 years, only 2 drivers have been able to win this race twice. Pancho Carter and Steve Butler. Rich Vogler has won it once, so the odds are against him, but boy, he looks bulletproof right this moment. 22 laps are down. Vogler leads. Butler runs second. There is 3rd Mark Alderson and 4th Gary Fedewa. Neither one of those drivers has ever won a USAC sprint car main event. And unless something highly unusual occurs, it's not going to be tonight either.
No, and I see something coming up here behind these two. Upcoming young Jeff Gordon to get back in this fray. He's going to be fighting for this spot in just about 2 or 3 laps.
Jeff Gordon is 18 years of age. There's Vogler going to the inside of Frank Weiss, and now to Jerry Niemeyer. Those are top 10 cars, and Niemeyer, 2 throughout the 1989 season has been one of the people who has run the groove here the best. He is not an easy man to get around. He runs smooth, he runs straight, he runs fair, and he helped a lot of people off to hold on to his position in tonight's main event.
As good as he's running, it shows you how much better Rich's car is operating tonight. Rich is just driving through traffic like they're not even there. The car is hooked up so tight that it's not pushing. Once in a while, it might pop a little loose, but that's just because he's hard on the throttle.
A Buick V6 underneath the hood of Rich Vogler. Rich Vogler, who is looking for win number 164. He's beginning to smoke.
It looks like it's I don't know, it looks like it could be an oil leak rather than a smoke that came out of that car.
It was heavy through 1 and 2. Doesn't pick up until he gets into number 4. He squirts out of the 4th corner. Could it be icing down that right rear?
Which lap 26?
And Wayne Hammond has suddenly appeared there in the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Where in the world did Wayne Hammond come from?
Well, he's been moving up from the back steady. I mean, he came from that yellow from the rear and has come right to the front, and now he's got a clear track ahead of him looking for 2nd place.
27 laps are down, and incidentally, if Vogler stays in 1st and Jeff Gordon finishes 6th or higher by our unofficial count, Jeff Gordon will still win the Hardee's Points Championship when this night and this year is over, so Gordon can still pull it off. The white flag is coming up for Rich Vogler. Does he have enough left to go one more lap?
Well, apparently so. Either it's run out of the oil from the gearbox or whatever that was coming out, but it's not coming out anymore. And the starter had the black flag in his hand, is not going to give it to him. Just gave him the white flag, and he's coming around now to win his first ever Hallman Classic race. He's coming off the corner now. There, the checkered flag drops on Rich Vogler, who did an excellent job tonight. He outdrove everyone. His car was faster than everyone, and he won the race.
He had set a brand new track record in qualifying, and he proved that it was absolutely no fluke, as Rich Vogler is the 1989 Hallman Classic winner.
First of all, congratulations, but you gave everybody a scare late because the car started to smoke.
Well, I don't know what happened there, but maybe it was the drive shaft that landed in the cockpit with me early when Gary's car broke on him there. The drive shaft wound up right inside the cockpit, and I waited a few laps for it to cool off, and I threw it out.
That had to be a scary moment for you when you saw all the flames. It was a lucky situation for you as well.
Oh, it was. I was right there, but my Buick car, Hoffman racing car, was really working good today, and I'd just like to thank the fans for tuning in to this Hardee's Racing Series and for sponsoring us. I think we've been getting good reviews, and we've had a lot of people in grandstands. It's been fun.
And wouldn't you really rather have a Buick V6 back in victory lane? And there is the big thumbs up from Rich Vogler. He wins again in the Hallman Classic here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. More coming up. Stay with us.
It was not on this evening because of all the news and information about Pete Rose and expanded Sports Center. Sports Center tonight will follow.
Advance into the A feature. There's Shane Carson, Rick Hunker. Seen those guys make some good runs over the years. Solid professionals. As I say, some heavy guys in here, and they're going to be working hard. Remember Mike Ward out of Memphis, Tennessee? We've seen him take some sensational rides over the years.
Oh, yeah, he's starting to blame it on us. Because anytime Diamond P shows up, kaboom!
Well, let's hope he has a better night tonight. We hope all these guys do. As Johnny Herrera, the red 45X from Albuquerque, New Mexico, leads.